let's talk about your Raiders, man.
Oh, man. Yeah,
let's talk about it. What is going on in both of those locker rooms? Because that was kind of the big story all last week. Indianapolis, seemingly out of nowhere, fires Frank Reich. Maybe you could have seen the writing on the wall, but then to replace him with Jeff Saturday, a former player coming straight from TV at ESPN, had only really coached in high school, and everyone talked about it all week. How is this going to work? Disrespectful to the process, Rooney Rule stuff, which doesn't really apply to interim coaches. But that was still being talked about a lot. And then, hey, look what happens. Matt Ryan now back at starting quarterback. They go into Las Vegas and they get a huge win. So just kind of take us into both locker rooms as to what's going on there.
Well, I'll start with the Colts locker room first, because I loved my time in the National Football League. I played 8 seasons, but in my 8 seasons, I played for 6 head coaches. Okay, so 6 head coaches in 8 years. That's a lot of coaches. Yeah. So I know about coaches who have been fired in the interim. The interim tag that you put on a coach. I believe it was 2008. Lane Kiffin was fired as the head coach of the Raiders when I was there, and Tom Cable took over. So he took over after week 4. So we got 12 more games to go with Tom Cable. So I know what the interim label looks like for a head coach and what that coach comes in to and what they have to do. Number one, it's about motivating the players. That's number one. It's about motivating the players to want them to go out there and play as hard as they can for you as the head coach. And people will say, well, you shouldn't need a coach to motivate. These are all grown men. I was a grown man in there, but you fire the guy who gave you this message, that you've heard this message. And for me, that was Lane Kiffin's, I believe, his 20th game. He had coached the previous season, and then he had this. And, we're off to the start that you would say should have been a little bit better, but there was obviously some things that were going on between coach and owner. And when you have coach and owner, it does come down into the players. We hear it. We understand it. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing it? I can tell you, guys in that locker room, they probably looked at each other when Sam Ehlinger was hey, he's going to be our starter. This dude, not saying that Sam Ehlinger is a bad quarterback, but I want to win. We brought Matt Ryan in for a reason. And I know our record is not what it should be, but we've had injuries with Jonathan Taylor. We've had an offensive line that we've invested all of this money in, and yet we're not getting the results with that offensive line. Yes, we've been swept by the Tennessee Titans this season. So a lot of things that you wanted to happen are not working. But then all of a sudden you enter Jeff Saturday as the new head coach, the interim tag. Jeff Saturday is a motivator. He's a guy who is going to tell you how it is. And I tell you, as a former player, that's all I want. I want a coach who's going to tell me straight. I've had coaches say, Kirk, you're not playing well. I've seen you play better, and I know you can play better. I appreciate that, coach. Thank you for telling me that. That's all you want. You want someone who's going to be 100% honest with you, who is not going to sugarcoat it, but also a guy who, may protect you in the media as well. We'll say, hey, you've had a defense that's given up this X amount of yards. Yeah, I've got a defense that's not playing well, but we're handling that. We're talking internally amongst each other about how we're going to fix the problems and say, well, middle linebacker, he's missed like 8 tackles in a row, so you should be talking to Jeff Saturday. Gets that part of it. And as a former player, you saw them score touchdowns yesterday in Las Vegas. That sideline erupted. They were excited. Yeah. That dude just showed up, and all of a sudden you see the coaches high-five and excited because he's got them all motivated. They're all moving on the same. And this is not a knock on Frank Reich. It's just that it's different. Sometimes you need a spark, and you can't get that spark because the trade deadline's over with. You're not bringing in a street free agent to change the dynamic of the team. This is who you are. So you have to find a spark within. Well, the spark happened to be bringing in the interim coach. And to me, I broadcasted a game earlier with the Colts, and I walked around, and Jeff Saturday has a former teammate on staff in Reggie Wayne, wide receiver. So there's guys who know Jeff Saturday, what he's all about, and he's passionate about it. That to me as a player is all I want, is a coach who I know that cares. It's not about him, it's about the players in that room. And that's all Jeff Saturday kept saying. I don't know how many games the Indianapolis Colts will win, but I'll tell you this, they are going to play tough, they're going to play physical, and they're going to play their heart out for Jeff Saturday because he's demanding of that. You don't need a resume for that. You don't need to have coached in college and coached. Yeah, there's other parts of the job that are difficult for head coaches. I talk to head coaches every single week. Now, the college game is different when I talk to those coaches because they say, oh, I'm dealing with boosters, my radio show, this kid's parents wants him to transfer, and why isn't this kid play? That's a whole different can of worms in college football. That's a different animal when it comes to head coaching. In the NFL, it's about motivating. It's about putting up the picture. It's about showing guys, hey, this is what it's all about. This is what's in front of us. I thought Cliff Kingsbury said it best watching the Hard Knocks last week. He said, look, fellas, it's not about everyone else. It's about us. Let's look at our division. Let's scale it down a little bit. Let's not look at the entire NFL. Let's just look at where we are and where we're at in our division. And that message was preached by each individual coach. That's what coaching is all about.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.